Think about how power used to work. It was all about land, right? Huge empires stretching across continents.
Definitely. Land was the measure.
But then, roughly 1450 to 1750, things just flipped. Suddenly, a few European nations are calling the shots globally.
Yeah, it's a massive shift. And not because they initially had these giant armies on land.
Exactly. It was mastery of the seas. It's such a pivotal moment in history, and that's what we're really diving into today.
And what's so interesting, I think, is how this sea power wasn't, conjured out of nothing. It was built step by step on technology.
Right. And crucially, a lot of that tech came from interactions between different cultures. It wasn't all homegrown.
That's a key point. The cross-cultural exchange was fundamental.
So for you listening, if you want to really get a handle on this massive change without getting totally swamped in dates and names, this is for you.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to zero in on those key technologies, where they came from, and, well, how they completely reshaped trade and travel across the globe.
Our sources here are mainly historical texts looking at the tech innovations from that period.
Okay, so where do we start? These tools that changed everything.
Well, the first thing to get clear is that European powers didn't, invent all the foundational stuff.
Mhm.
A lot of the really crucial tools were adopted, borrowed, you could say.
And then adapted.
Yeah, exactly. Adapted very skillfully.
Okay, so like the magnetic compass, we picture Columbus using it, but its origins.
Chinese, definitely Chinese. And you just can't overstate its importance for navigation.
Before that, it was hugging the coast, looking at the stars, much riskier.
Hugely riskier. Imagine being out on the open ocean, clouds roll in, no landmarks. The compass gave sailors a reliable sense of direction. It basically made long-distance voyages feasible in a way they just weren't before. Confidence builder.
Okay, compass for direction. Then there's the astrolabe. Sounds complex.
It looks complex too. There's some debate, maybe Greek origins, maybe Arab world development, but its job was critical.
Which was?
Figuring out latitude, your position north or south. You'd measure the angle of the sun or a known star, like Polaris, above the horizon.
Ah, okay, using angles.
Yes, using graduated circles and a sighting arm. Later, it helped with longitude too, though that was trickier for a long time. But knowing your latitude, game changer for mapping your journey.
Absolutely. Makes you appreciate modern GPS and those triangular sails you see on illustrations.
Ah, the lateen sail, another crucial adoption, this one from the Arab world.
Different from the square sails common in Europe, then.
Very different. The triangular shape lets you harness the wind from more directions. You could actually sail closer into the wind, not just with it behind you.
Which means more control, better maneuverability.
Massively better maneuverability. Suddenly, you weren't totally dependent on favorable winds. You could zigzag, tack against the wind. Huge for exploration and reliable trade routes.
Okay, so we've got direction, position, and better sailing control.
Yeah.
What about maps? You need good maps, right? Especially star maps.
Absolutely. Astronomical charts. Detailed maps of the stars.
Yeah.
Essential for navigating, especially at night or when the sun wasn't visible.
And who developed those?
Well, the Greeks laid some groundwork, but it was really Muslim scholars who refined them, building on that earlier knowledge, creating incredibly detailed and accurate charts. Sailors used these to pinpoint their location by identifying constellations and stars.
So it really feels like Europe was plugging into this existing global network of knowledge. How did these specific technologies actually get to Europe?
Through trade, mostly. Think about the big networks already in place, the Silk Roads, the Indian Ocean routes, trans-Saharan trade.
Right, they weren't just moving spices and silk.
Exactly. Ideas traveled with the goods and the merchants. Knowledge, technologies, scientific understanding, it all flowed along these routes. And periods like the Pax Mongolica, that Mongol peace, made travel safer and boosted that exchange.
So European merchants encounter these tools, see their value.
Precisely. They see them in action, maybe used by Arab sailors in the Mediterranean or learned about through trade contacts, and they bring that knowledge back.
Okay, so Europe adopts these foundational pieces.
Mm.
But they don't just stop there, do they? They start innovating themselves, particularly with the ships.
Yes, this is where they start building on that adopted knowledge. Shipbuilding becomes a major area of European innovation.
And Portugal was early on this, right? With the caravel. They kind of went against the grain. Bigger wasn't better.
Right. You had these massive ships like the Chinese junks, incredible vessels for cargo, but the Portuguese, at least initially, wanted something different. They developed the caravel smaller, lighter, much more nimble.
Why small? What was the advantage?
Several things. It could sail in shallower waters, close to coastlines, even up rivers a bit, crucial for exploring unknown shores and setting up trading posts.
Getting into places bigger ships couldn't.
Exactly. Plus, it was fast. And, very importantly, the Portuguese fitted them out with cannons.
Okay, so fast, agile, and armed. That sounds like a potent combination.
It really was. It gave them a fighting edge, allowed them to project power, even with relatively small vessels. You see how that firepower would change things?
Definitely. It's not just about trade anymore, it's about control.
Yeah.
So the caravel is for exploration and maybe some light defended trading. But for a real empire built on trade, you need to haul more stuff.
Precisely. As ambitions grew, especially Portugal's in the Indian Ocean, the caravel's cargo limit was a problem. So they developed the carrack.
Gearship.
Much bigger, designed specifically with large cargo holds in mind. Think long-distance trade routes, bringing back spices, silks, whatever, in bulk.
But still armed, I assume.
Oh, yes. Being bigger, the carrack could carry even more cannons than the caravel. This was key to Portugal dominating trade routes early on. They could defend their merchant fleets and, well, persuade competitors.
Okay, Portugal leads with the caravel and carrack. But then the Dutch really take over, especially in the Indian Ocean trade. Their ship was the Fluit.
Yes, the Fluit. And it represents another strategic shift in design. If the carrack was a kind of armed merchant ship,
The Fluit was.
almost purely a merchant ship, its design was radically focused on maximizing cargo space. Huge, bulbous holds. It looked a bit boxy, actually.
So sacrificing maybe some speed or fighting ability for just sheer volume.
Pretty much. But the genius was also in its efficiency. It was designed to be sailed with a much smaller crew than other ships of its size.
Lower operating costs.
Dramatically lower, fewer salaries, less food and water needed. And the Dutch didn't stop there. They innovated in shipbuilding itself, new tools, new techniques. They apparently cut the production cost of a Fluit by about half compared to rivals.
Wow. Cheaper to build, cheaper to run. That's a huge advantage.
Massive. It made Dutch shipping incredibly competitive. By the mid-1600s, something like half of all merchant shipping tonnage in Europe belonged to the Dutch, much of it carried by these Fluits. They became the workhorses of global sea trade.
Okay, let's tie this together. We have these adopted technologies, compass, astrolabe, lateen sail, star charts making navigation possible, reliable.
Improving the fundamentals of sailing, yeah.
And then you layer on these European ship designs. The nimble, armed caravel for exploring, the larger armed carrack for establishing trade empires, and finally the hyper-efficient fluticade for dominating that trade.
Exactly. They're interconnected. Better navigation allowed the bigger ships like carracks and Fluits to undertake longer, more complex voyages reliably.
And the better sails help maneuver all these different hull designs more effectively.
Precisely. The adopted tech made the voyages possible and more precise, and the shipbuilding innovations created the tools, the vessels perfectly suited for the goals of exploration, empire building, and eventually highly efficient commerce. It's this synergy, this combination, that really unlocked transoceanic travel and trade on a grand scale.
So it really wasn't one magic bullet invention. It was taking existing knowledge from around the world and then adding specific, targeted European innovations on top. That combination reshaped everything.
That's the core of it. Leveraging global knowledge, then innovating strategically. It changed trade, it changed power balances, it changed the world map, really.
So wrapping up our deep dive here, we saw how European powers weren't starting from scratch. They took crucial tech navigation tools, sails from other cultures, primarily via trade routes.
Adopted and adapted.
Right. Then they built on that with their own shipbuilding innovations, the caravel, the carrack, the Fluit, each ship designed for a specific purpose, whether exploration, armed trade, or just pure cargo efficiency.
And that combination, that interplay between adopted knowledge and targeted innovation, is what enabled them to build maritime empires and completely shift global trade patterns.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? This pattern of adopting existing ideas, adapting them, building on them. It's still how so much innovation happens today.
Absolutely. And it leaves you wondering, what are the seemingly small tech shifts happening now, maybe borrowed or adapted from somewhere else, that might be poised to cause equally massive global changes down the road? Something to ponder.